Many people struggle with perfectionism and often blame themselves, maybe feel embarrassed or afraid when something isn't perfect. Maybe you feel like you're being watched or judged, even when you're not. Or maybe you think people will be disappointed in you or your work. But the thing is that these thoughts are not your fault. In this video, I will show how and why abuse causes perfectionism. Once you understand this, you can start letting go of a need for perfectionism. Because perfectionism can negatively affect your life. I saw this a lot when I was a technical scuba diving instructor in the Cayman Islands, teaching hundreds of people to dive, some as deep as 350 feet. Many students broke down and wanted to give up on their dreams the moment they could not do a skill perfectly the first time. Others wanted to give up before even attempting a skill because they feared they could not be able to do it perfectly the first time. Perfectionism can take the joy out of life and also stop you from reaching for your dreams. People often think that perfectionism is about having high standards or that they are simply careful and thorough. Others think they are just detail-orientated or care a lot about doing a good job. While some don't think they are perfectionists, they just feel like things are never quite ready yet, or that they are just hard on themselves because they want to improve. But here's the truth. Perfectionism is driven by fear. Perfectionism is a manifestation of needing to feel safe and avoiding the consequences of failure. The human mind adapts to its surroundings. When you are constantly criticized, mocked, devalued, or punished for making mistakes, or only praised when you do something perfectly, your mind starts to see imperfection as dangerous. Those who were only praised when they did exceptionally well or made someone else proud learned that failure could mean a loss of affection, attention, and possibly resources. Our brains are prediction organs. It constantly predicts future outcomes based on current input and past experiences. So when you want to do something, your brain predicts that if you do not do it perfectly, there will be consequences. To protect you from these consequences, your mind drives you to get everything perfectly. Thus, you drive yourself to keep perfecting even when you did it already far above other people's capacity or what is needed to complete the task. But it gets worse. If the goalposts were constantly moved, and no matter how much effort you put in and how perfect you got the job done, they still found fault with what you did, dismissed your work, or claimed it is not good enough, your mind will start to predict that you cannot do things perfectly. Now, when you want to do something, fear, anxiety, and dread may rise up in you as your brain predicts that no matter what you do, you will fail to complete it to an acceptable level. Now you may start to procrastinate or abandon projects halfway to avoid the judgment in the end. This can cause perfectionism to turn into procrastination and self-sabotage. And it gets worse. Because our minds predict the future based on our past experiences, even if you were to leave this environment, your brain must still make the same predictions that you need to be perfect to be liked and accepted, or that you may as well not do something because you cannot do it perfectly. Sometimes, even just the thought of failing can cause people to shut down. Just thinking of being judged can cause anxiety and fear, which can lead people to develop self-soothing habits that suppress these emotions, such as overeating, alcohol and drug use, or avoiding doing anything, even making their own choices about what to have for dinner. I've seen students shake uncontrollably moments before it was their turn to demonstrate the skill, and many apologize profusely when they made a mistake. even though making mistakes is normal and expected. That is because their brains learned that mistakes are unforgivable and unrecoverable. That once you've failed, that is it. No second tries, no excuses, just punishment. No matter how small a mistake you made, or even if it was an accident. The issue gets worse due to that common advice for perfectionism often fails or makes things worse, such as to lower your standards or to reduce the effort you put into something in an attempt to address the perfectionism. This often backfires because in this case, the issue is not effort or high standards. It is fear of the consequences of failure. By reducing effort or lowering your standards, you actually increase the risk of failure. And when you fail, it reinforces your beliefs that you need to do everything perfectly. Some people advise to just grow a thicker skin and stop caring about what others say, to reject criticism and not be so sensitive. But your brain learned to pay attention to criticism as a survival strategy. It is deeply ingrained in your mind. You may wish to just stop caring about what others say and think, but it is not going to happen overnight. It would be like suddenly trying to cross a busy road without caring to look if it is safe, after you have been hit several times by cars before when crossing. Your mind is not going to forget those incidents, and it is going to use them in its predictions. Even if you know something can happen, like someone can find fault with your work. When something actually happens to you, it changes how your brain predicts the possibility of it happening again. Before experiencing it personally, it was a mild possibility. After experiencing it, it is a high probability of happening. And if you have repeatedly experienced it in the past, like repeatedly being criticized for making a mistake, your brain predicts it will happen. Not maybe, but guaranteed. So you will be driven to get everything perfectly, to the point where your brain will finally realize it can never be good enough, and then people often give up trying. The uncomfortable reality is that although we can partially manage criticism, if perfectionism is disrupting your life, to change it, you need to get out of an environment where you are constantly criticized and mistakes are punished or not tolerated. And then you need to build new experiences where what you do is good enough and mistakes are seen as learning opportunities and tolerated, so that these new supportive experiences can become memories your brain uses to predict future outcomes, which will allow it to predict that what you do will be good enough, will be accepted by others, and that if you make a mistake, you will not be punished, devalued, or lose affection or resources. This will lower your drive to be perfect, as well as reduce the fear and anxiety you may experience when thinking about failing. And over time, the more supportive experiences you have, the more distant the drive to be perfect and the fear of failure becomes, until you no longer notice them.